The picture-perfect life, it turned out, was a goddamn mirage. One minute I was basking in the glow of a happily ever after that would make a Disney princess puke with envy. The beautiful fiancé, the cozy house, the steady job, the bun in the oven. A bonus surprise that had me practicing my diaper-changing skills and researching the best soundproofing for a nursery. The next minute, I was staring at an empty apartment, a half-eaten bowl of microwave ramen, and a calendar with the wedding date circled in a mocking shade of "You've been royally screwed." Nancy McFucking Cuntbag. Even her name was a goddamn red flag, a flashing neon sign that screamed "Danger, toxic bitch ahead." But I, blinded by love, or maybe just a severe case of testosterone poisoning, had ignored the warning signs, the subtle red flags that had been waving in my face like a semaphore message from the universe. "John, honey," she'd purr, her voice a saccharine symphony of manipulation. "Don't you think we should wait a little longer before setting a date? I mean, we've only been dating a year, and what if, you know, what if we're not meant to be?" Meant to be? I'd scoff, my voice dripping with the arrogance of a man who thought he'd won the lottery of love. "Nancy, we've known each other for almost a decade. We're practically soulmates, destined to be together like Romeo and Juliet, but with less poison and more, well, more sensible life insurance policies." Famous last words, right? Because just when I thought I'd finally found the woman who'd complete me, challenge me, and tolerate my questionable taste in music, she pulled the rug out from under my feet with the grace of a drunken ballerina. "John." Her voice, when I finally got her on the phone after 3 days of agonizing silence, was as cold as a polar bear's ass crack in a blizzard. "I'm not coming back. The wedding is off, and I don't want to see you again." The words hit me like a Mike Tyson uppercut, my brain splattering against the back of my skull, my heart imploding like a dying star. "What?" I gasped, my voice a pathetic squeak that would make a castrato sound like Barry White. "But why? What about the wedding? The baby? Our what, John?" She interrupted, her voice dripping with a disdain that could curdle milk. "Our shared Netflix account? Our collection of mismatched coffee mugs? Our carefully curated Instagram feed that portrays a life we don't actually have?" The honesty, as brutal as it was unexpected, was a slap in the face, a wake-up call to the reality that I'd been living in a goddamn fantasy world, a rom-com montage that had abruptly cut to a horror movie scene. "But the baby, Nancy," I pleaded, my voice cracking with a desperation that was as pathetic as it was futile. "Our baby. What about our daughter?" "Daughter?" she scoffed, the word a venomous spit. "Oh, please, don't pretend you actually care. You were never that interested in starting a family. It was just another box to tick on your perfect life checklist." The accusations, though laced with a bitter truth, stung like a swarm of angry bees. Had I been that blind? That self-absorbed? Had I really reduced my unborn child to a mere checklist item in my pursuit of a picture-perfect life? The phone call ended, the dial tone a mocking echo of the emptiness that had suddenly engulfed me. I stumbled through the next few days, a zombie in a Brooks Brothers suit, my brain a fog of disbelief, my heart a shattered vase glued together with Scotch tape and denial. Then came the calls. The frantic conversations with her sister, her mother, each revelation a new layer of deception, a twisted plot twist in the soap opera that had become my life. "She's done this before, John," her sister confessed, her voice a mix of pity and a strange sense of relief. "Twice. 2 engagements, 2 pregnancies, 2 conveniently timed miscarriages that left her exes heartbroken and financially drained." "She's a goddamn con artist," her mother spat, her voice thick with a bitterness that resonated with my own growing rage. "A manipulative, heartless bitch who uses men like Kleenex, then throws them away when they're no longer of use to her, then runs to her Christian grandma feigning abuse." The pieces clicked into place, the puzzle forming a picture that was as ugly as it was undeniable. Nancy, the woman I had loved, trusted, built a life with, was a fraud, a parasite, a master manipulator who had used me, abused me, and discarded me like a used condom. I checked our joint bank account. Negative $2,000. Fuck. Guess I won't be paying the mortgage. And as the anger finally broke through the fog of disbelief, a new resolve solidified within me. I wouldn't let her get away with it. I wouldn't be another victim in her twisted game of deceit. I would fight back. I would expose her lies. I would reclaim my life, my dignity, my goddamn sanity. The game was on, Nancy, and this time, you were playing with the wrong man. The world, it seemed, was a goddamn carnival of cruelty, and I was the main attraction, strapped to the roller coaster of heartbreak, my stomach churning with a mix of nausea and incandescent rage. The apartment, once a cozy haven of shared dreams and takeout menus, was now a mausoleum of memories. Every corner whispering accusations of my stupidity, my gullibility, my utter failure to detect the flashing neon signs that had been screaming danger, run away. Work was a blur of missed deadlines and caffeine-fueled panic attacks. My boss, a man whose empathy was as underdeveloped as his fashion sense, had graciously offered me a performance improvement plan that sounded suspiciously like a thinly veiled threat to replace me with a robot that could function on a diet of electricity and corporate jargon. "John, my boy," he'd boomed, his voice a foghorn in the cramped confines of his office. "You're slipping. Your focus is elsewhere, and frankly, your productivity is about as impressive as a snail in a marathon." "Elsewhere?" I'd echoed, my voice a hollow croak that would make a pubescent teenager sound like Barry White. "Well, yes, Mr. Henderson. My fiancé did just dump me, steal my life savings, and leave me with a mortgage I can't afford and a nursery full of furniture that's mocking my existential angst. But Mr. Henderson, bless his corporate heart, wasn't interested in my emotional baggage. He wanted results, spreadsheets, and a profit margin that could fund his next yacht purchase. So I plastered on a smile that felt as fake as Nancy's orgasms and mumbled something about personal issues and getting back on track. My family, those champions of unsolicited advice and thinly veiled judgment, weren't much help either. My mother, bless her passive-aggressive heart, had taken to sending me daily motivational quotes that sounded like they'd been ripped from the pages of a self-help book written by a hamster on a sugar rush. "John, honey?" she'd coo, her voice a symphony of concern that was as soothing as a sandpaper massage. "Remember, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And what doesn't make you stronger probably just maims you for life, but hey, at least you'll have a good story to tell at your next therapy session." My friends, bless their loyal souls, tried to be supportive, but their attempts at consolation often veered into the territory of, "Dude, you dodged a bullet and she was crazy anyway." Which, while technically true, didn't exactly soothe the gaping wound in my chest where my heart used to be. "Seriously, John," Chris, my oldest friend, would say, his voice a mix of sympathy and a healthy dose of, "I told you so. You're better off without her. She was a manipulative, selfish bitch." I'd finish, the word a bitter satisfaction on my tongue. "Yeah, I know, but it still hurts, damn it. I loved her. I trusted her. I thought we were—" "You thought you were in a Disney movie," he'd interrupt, his voice gentle but firm. "But you were in a goddamn horror flick, buddy, and you almost ended up as the main course." And he was right. Nancy McFucking Cuntbag, with her lies, her betrayals, her carefully constructed facade of innocence, had almost devoured me whole, leaving me a hollow shell of a man, a walking, talking testament to the dangers of falling for a woman who was more interested in your bank account than your heart. But the anger, that fiery beast that had been simmering in my gut, was starting to morph into something else. A resolve, a determination to not just survive this, but to thrive, to reclaim my life, my dignity, my goddamn right to happiness. "She's not going to get away with this," I muttered to myself, my voice a low growl that echoed through the empty apartment. "I'll expose her lies. I'll dismantle her facade. I'll make her pay for every tear I've shed, every sleepless night I've endured, every goddamn dollar she's stolen." The remnants of Nancy McFucking Cuntbag's existence were scattered across the bedroom floor like the aftermath of a tornado fueled by cheap perfume and bad decisions. Clothes I'd never seen her wear. Probably trophies from her conquests, the lucky bastards. Shoes that cost more than my monthly rent? Seriously, who needs stilettos that could double as weapons of mass destruction? And enough makeup to stock a Sephora store. Apparently, the natural look requires an arsenal of chemicals and a PhD in cosmetic engineering. It was a monument to her vanity, a testament to the shallowness that had been hiding beneath the surface of her carefully curated persona. I was packing her shit, the task a cathartic blend of anger and a strange sense of satisfaction. Each discarded item was a symbolic severing of ties, a purging of the memories, the lies, the betrayal that had poisoned my life. And then I stumbled upon it, the resume. A crisp, white sheet of paper that screamed bullshit louder than a politician at a campaign rally. I scanned the lines, my eyes widening with a mix of amusement and disgust. Experienced marketing professional with a proven track record of success. Highly motivated and results-oriented individual with a passion for innovation. Expert in social media strategy and digital marketing. Seriously, this was the woman who couldn't even figure out how to change the toilet paper roll without calling her mommy for instructions. The woman whose idea of a marketing campaign was posting selfies on Instagram with a strategically placed bottle of overpriced wine. The woman whose passion for innovation extended to finding new ways to manipulate men and max out their credit cards. "You lying sack of," I muttered, my voice a growl of disgust, the urge to shove the resume down her throat and make her choke on her own bullshit almost overwhelming. But then, a different thought, a more devious, more deliciously wicked thought, slithered into my brain like a viper in a silk pajama. This wasn't just evidence of her deceit. It was a weapon, a tool of destruction, a goddamn opportunity to expose her lies and sabotage her carefully constructed facade. I grabbed my laptop, the keys clicking with a rhythmic fury that mirrored the beat of my vengeful heart. A new email address, a carefully crafted message to her corporate overlords, and voila! A detailed expose of Nancy McFucking Cuntbag's fabricated credentials, her inflated accomplishments, her non-existent expertise in anything that required actual brain power. "Dear Mr. CEO," I typed, my fingers flying across the keyboard, "I regret to inform you that your esteemed marketing manager, Nancy McWhatever the fuck her last name is a fraud, a phony, a con artist who's about to make your company the laughingstock of the industry." The satisfaction was a potent drug, a rush of adrenaline that made my blood sing. But the resume was just the appetizer, the opening act in the symphony of revenge I was about to orchestrate. Next up, the checkbook. I flipped through its pages, the pristine checks a blank canvas for my own twisted masterpiece. I practiced her signature, the forgery a skill I'd honed during my misspent youth. The results surprisingly convincing. And then, with a flourish that would make a master counterfeiter proud, I signed every single check, each one a blank check to financial ruin, a one-way ticket to a debt collection nightmare that would make her credit score look like a drunken gambler's losing streak. I drove to the seediest part of town, the kind of neighborhood where even the rats wore bulletproof vests, and scattered the checks like confetti at a mafia funeral. "Enjoy your shopping spree, Nancy," I muttered, picturing her face when the bounced checks started piling up, the creditors circling like vultures, the debt collectors hounding her like a pack of rabid chihuahuas. The rest of her belongings met a less ceremonious fate. The dumpster behind my apartment building, a fitting resting place for the remnants of a life built on lies, manipulation, and a wardrobe that could rival a Kardashian's walk-in closet. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, it was all fuel to the fire, a potent cocktail that was transforming me from a heartbroken chump into a goddamn avenging angel with a laptop and a wicked sense of humor. Nancy McFucking Cuntbag might have thought she could break me, discard me, leave me to drown in a sea of debt and despair, but she had underestimated me. She had underestimated the depths of my fury, the resilience of my spirit, the sheer audacity of my revenge. The game was on, darling, and I was just getting started. The fog of self-pity, that hazy blend of whiskey fumes and existential dread, finally began to dissipate. replaced by a righteous anger that could power a small city. "Fuck this," I growled, slamming my empty glass onto the counter, the shattering sound a symphony of defiance. "I'm not going to let that bitch ruin my life. I'm not going to be the victim in her twisted game of manipulation and deceit." The first step was ditching the pity party. The empty pizza boxes, the overflowing ashtrays, the collection of self-help books that were about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. They all went into the trash, a symbolic purging of the negativity that had been clinging to me like a cheap suit. Then came the text message, a digital grenade lobbed into the fragile peace I was trying to cultivate. "I had a miscarriage," it read, the words a punch to the gut, a cruel reminder of the life that had been lost, the future that had been stolen. "You stress me out too much, and my daughter is dead now." Daughter? I was going to have a daughter? And she was blaming me? The rage surged, a tsunami of fury that threatened to drown me in its unforgiving depths. For a fleeting moment, I saw red, the image of Nancy McFucking-Cuntbag's smug face superimposed on a dartboard, my hand itching to launch a projectile with deadly accuracy. But then, a different voice, a calmer, more calculating voice, cut through the noise. "Revenge is a dish best served cold, John," it whispered, its tone a chilling counterpoint to the inferno raging within me. "And you, my friend, are about to become a master chef." The first course was a dumpster dive of epic proportions. Nancy's belongings, those remnants of her parasitic existence, were piled high in the backyard, a bonfire of designer labels and questionable lingerie that would make a fashion critic weep. "Burn, baby, burn," I cackled, the flames licking at the effigy of my former life, the smoke a cleansing ritual that purged the last vestiges of her toxic presence. Her laptop, however, was spared. That sleek little machine, a treasure trove of secrets and digital indiscretions, was my golden ticket to a revenge plot that would make Machiavelli himself green with envy. The second course was 2 weeks go by. Nancy calls, I don't answer. Voicemail says she got laid off due to cutbacks. I know that's not true. Fuck yeah. The satisfaction was a potent cocktail, a mix of schadenfreude and a righteous indignation that fueled my every keystroke. And when the "you've been laid off" voicemail finally arrived, the victory was sweeter than a triple chocolate fudge cake with a side of fuck you sprinkles. The third course was a slow drip of bureaucratic torture. The bad check restitution letters, the car registration renewal notices, the jury duty summons, they all found their way to my mailbox, a symphony of inconvenience orchestrated with the precision of a postal worker on a caffeine binge. And with each unopened envelope, each unanswered call, each ignored notice, Nancy's carefully constructed life began to unravel, the consequences of her actions finally catching up with her like a pack of rabid squirrels in a designer shoe store. Change of address? The postal worker, a woman whose smile was as weary as her sensible shoes, inquired, her pen poised over the official form. "Indeed," I chirped, my voice a symphony of faux innocence. "Nancy has decided to embrace a minimalist lifestyle. She's downsizing, decluttering, and finding herself in the, let's call it rustic charm, of the local homeless shelter." The woman's eyebrows shot up, but she dutifully filled out the form, her pen scratching across the paper like a death knell to Nancy's carefully curated image. And as I walked out of the post office, the afternoon sun glinting off the "Welcome to Alexandria" sign, a sense of accomplishment mingled with the anticipation of the next course, the next chapter, the next deliciously wicked twist in the saga of Nancy's downfall. Super Christian grandma, bless her judgmental heart and her unwavering faith in the power of denial, was about to get a crash course in the realities of her granddaughter's moral turpitude. Apparently, Nancy McFucking-Cuntbag, the queen of playing the victim, had spun a tale of woe about her abusive ex-husband. That's me, folks, and her unforeseen financial difficulties, conveniently omitting the part about the infidelity, the spending sprees, and the bad checks that were now decorating a corkboard in the district attorney's office. I hear through a mutual friend that since Nancy is out of work now, she is staying with friends and supported financially by Super Christian grandma. Fuck that. That manipulative little... I growled, my fingers itching to throttle the life out of Nancy's laptop, the screen glowing with the smug satisfaction of a device that had witnessed more digital indiscretions than a tech support hotline. But throttling a laptop wouldn't solve anything, and besides, I had a better use for this technological treasure trove of incriminating evidence. Time for Grandma to get a reality check, I muttered, a wicked grin spreading across my face as I logged into Nancy's email account. The password, predictably, a variation on password 123 with a few strategically placed expletives. I created a new Yahoo account, the username a subtle variation of Nancy's, the kind of minor detail that a technologically challenged grandmother wouldn't notice in her rush to judge and condemn. The video, a gem I'd stumbled upon during a particularly adventurous phase of our relationship, Nancy fingerblasting herself, was tucked away in a folder labeled Personal Projects. I attached it to the email, my finger hovering over the send button, the anticipation thicker than a bowl of oatmeal left out in the sun. Subject: My new job, Grandma, hope you like it, I typed, adding a few emojis for good measure. A winking face, a dancing girl, a strategically placed eggplant that would probably give Grandma a heart attack. The send button clicked with the satisfying finality of a guillotine blade, and I leaned back in my chair, picturing super Christian Grandma's face as she opened the email, her wrinkled brow furrowing with confusion, her dentures clattering to the floor as the video sprang to life, showcasing her granddaughter's, let's just say, unconventional career choices. The reply arrived within minutes, its tone a symphony of judgmental fury that would make a Baptist preacher sound like a yoga instructor. Nancy, the email shrieked, its font size a testament to Grandma's failing eyesight and her unwavering belief in the power of all caps. This is disgusting. I am appalled. I will not support your immoral lifestyle. I hope your new job pays well because you can forget about any financial assistance from me. Bingo, I muttered, a triumphant grin spreading across my face. 2 birds, 1 stone. Not only had I exposed Nancy's true nature to her pious grandmother, but I'd also effectively cut off her financial lifeline, leaving her stranded in a sea of debt and desperation. The irony was delicious, a gourmet meal served on a silver platter of karmic retribution. And as I deleted the incriminating email, a wave of satisfaction washed over me. A cleansing wave that purged the last vestiges of guilt and self-doubt. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about reclaiming my power, about proving that I wouldn't be a victim in her twisted game of manipulation and deceit. Nancy might have thought she could break me, discard me, leave me to drown in the wreckage of our shattered dreams. But she had underestimated me. She had underestimated the depths of my fury, the resilience of my spirit, the sheer audacity of my payback. The game was on, darling, and I was just getting warmed up. The eviction notice, a crisp white slap in the face of Nancy's carefully curated image, arrived with the subtlety of a debt collector at a yoga retreat. Final notice, return of property required, it declared, the words a symphony of impending doom for the woman who had once ruled my apartment with an iron fist and a credit card that could melt plastic. Rent to own? I scoffed, my voice dripping with a mix of disbelief and a perverse satisfaction. Seriously? That's the best you could do, Nancy McFucking cuntbag? Living a lie even in your furniture choices? The image of her, perched on that faux leather couch, her perfectly manicured nails tapping away on her overpriced laptop, her designer clothes draped strategically around her like a peacock's plumage, was a slap in the face of authenticity, a testament to the shallowness that had defined our relationship. Well, honey, I muttered, a wicked grin spreading across my face. It seems your carefully curated image is about to go up in flames, literally. The backyard, usually a haven for neglected gardening projects and the occasional squirrel orgy, was transformed into a pyre of consumerism, a bonfire of bad decisions and questionable taste. The faux leather couch, the particle board coffee table, the antique dresser that was probably younger than my last hangover, they all went up in flames, their synthetic screams a fitting soundtrack to the demise of Nancy's carefully constructed reality. This is cathartic, I mused, watching the flames dance with a primal energy that mirrored the fire burning in my own soul. A cleansing ritual, a symbolic burning of the past, a middle finger to the consumerist culture that had almost consumed me. The phone rang, its shrill tone a jarring interruption to the symphony of crackling flames and vengeful satisfaction. "Mr. Carter?" A voice, as officious as it was irritating, inquired. "This is Rent-A-Center. We're calling regarding the outstanding balance on Miss McWhatever the fucker last name is account. She's informed us that the furniture is in your possession." "Furniture?" I echoed, feigning ignorance with an Oscar-worthy performance. "I'm afraid I have no idea what you're talking about. Miss McWhatever, the fucker last name is moved out weeks ago, and I haven't seen hide nor hair of her or her furniture." "But sir," the voice protested, its tone rising with a bureaucratic frustration that was music to my ears. "She insists that you have the furniture. She said you refused to return it, that I— What?" I interrupted, my voice laced with a dangerous calm that had the Rent-A-Center representative sputtering like a malfunctioning lawn sprinkler. "That I'm holding her precious particle board hostage? That I'm demanding a ransom in the form of a lifetime supply of air fresheners and those weird little felt pads you put under furniture legs?" "Sir, Look," I said, my voice hardening. "I don't have the furniture. I don't know where the furniture is, and frankly, I don't give a damn about the furniture. So, if you'll excuse me, I have a bonfire to tend to." I hung up the phone, the dial tone a symphony of victory, the flames dancing higher as I tossed another piece of Nancy's discarded life onto the pyre. The anger, the resentment, the sheer joy of watching her carefully constructed world crumble. It was a heady cocktail, a potent brew that was fueling my transformation from a heartbroken chump into a goddamn arsonist of justice. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about liberation, about reclaiming my power, my sanity, my right to a life that wasn't defined by the lies and manipulations of a woman who was as shallow as she was selfish. And as the flames consumed the last remnants of Nancy McFucking Cuntbag's material possessions, a sense of freedom, as exhilarating as it was unexpected, washed over me. I was no longer the victim, the pawn, the discarded lover. I was the fire starter, the master of my own destiny, the architect of a future where happiness, authenticity, and a healthy dose of fuck you to the past were the only currencies that mattered. The gossip mill, that insatiable beast with a hunger for scandal and a penchant for exaggeration, delivered the news with the subtlety of a foghorn in a library. Nancy McFucking Cuntbag? Busted for embezzlement? No way. Chris's voice, a symphony of disbelief and morbid fascination, crackled through the phone, his words a confirmation of the latest chapter in the ongoing saga of my ex-wife's self-destruction. "Apparently she's been dipping her manicured fingers into the company cookie jar," I replied, a smirk playing on my lips as I stirred my morning coffee. The caffeine a much-needed boost to my already elevated sense of schadenfreude. $5,000, they say. Pocketed it right out of petty cash. Guess those designer handbags and spa treatments don't pay for themselves. $5,000? Chris scoffed, his laughter echoing through the phone. That's barely enough for a weekend getaway with her entourage of admirers. What was she thinking? She wasn't thinking, my friend, I said, my voice laced with a mix of satisfaction and a hint of pity. She was desperate, jobless, homeless, and probably facing a credit score that would make a loan shark cringe. Desperation makes people do stupid things. But the stupidity, though undeniable, was also a twisted reflection of her own warped values, her insatiable hunger for a lifestyle she hadn't earned, a life built on the backs of others, a life that was now crashing down around her like a poorly constructed Jenga tower. Karma's a bitch, isn't she? I mused, picturing Nancy McFucking Cuntbag in an orange jumpsuit, her designer nails replaced by prison-issue acrylics, her entourage of admirers replaced by a cellmate with a questionable tattoo and a penchant for stealing toilet paper. The irony was delicious. A gourmet meal served on a silver platter of poetic justice. The woman who had tried to steal my future, to drain my bank account, to leave me with nothing but a mountain of debt and a broken heart, was now facing the consequences of her own actions, the legal system a mirror reflecting her own distorted reality. "What's going to happen to her?" Chris asked, his voice tinged with a concern that surprised me. "Who cares?" I retorted, though the question echoed in the hollow chambers of my own heart. She made her bed. Now she has to lie in it. It's not my problem anymore. And it wasn't, or so I told myself. Because the truth was, even in my triumph, a part of me still felt a flicker of something. Pity? Regret? A lingering sense of responsibility for the woman who had once shared my life, the woman who had borne my child, the woman who, despite her flaws, was still a human being, albeit a deeply flawed one. But the past was a graveyard, and I was not a gravedigger. I had buried the memories, the pain, the betrayal, the love that had turned to ashes in the fire of her deceit. And now I was focused on the future, the life I was building, the happiness I was creating, the woman I was falling in love with. A woman who was everything Nancy wasn't. Honest, loyal, and capable of loving me for who I was, not for what I could provide. "She's going to jail, John," Chris said, his voice a sobering reminder of the consequences of her actions. "A felony conviction. It's going to be hard for her to recover from this." "Good," I said, the word a harsh expulsion of the anger that still lingered within me. "She deserves it. She needs to learn that actions have consequences, that you can't just go through life using people, manipulating them, and expecting to get away with it." But even as I spoke the words, a sense of closure settled over me, a quiet understanding that my quest for revenge was reaching its end. I had exposed her lies, dismantled her facade, and watched as her life crumbled around her. It was enough. It was time to let go, to move on, to focus on the future, the life that was waiting for me, the happiness that was finally within my grasp. And as I hung up the phone, the news of Nancy's arrest fading into the background noise of my newfound contentment, a wave of gratitude washed over me. Gratitude for the friends who had supported me, the family who had never given up on me, and the woman who had shown me that love could be real, that trust could be earned, that happiness was not a destination, but a journey that was finally, truly mine. A felon. Nancy, the queen of entitlement, the princess of manipulation, was now a goddamn felon. The news, delivered with a healthy dose of "holy shit, dude, you were right" by a mutual acquaintance, was the cherry on top of my revenge sundae, the final sprinkle of justice on a dish that had been simmering for months. 3 years probation, a hefty fine, and a permanent stain on her record that would make a leopard look like a blank canvas. It was a symphony of consequences. A karmic orchestra playing a tune that was both satisfying and strangely melancholic. I sat on my balcony, a glass of whiskey in hand, the city lights twinkling like a million fallen stars, each one a reminder of the dreams I had shattered, the life I had dismantled, the woman I had destroyed. Was this what I wanted? This cold satisfaction, this bitter triumph, this lingering emptiness that echoed in the hollow chambers of my heart? The past months had been a roller coaster, a twisted carnival ride through the darkest corners of my soul. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, it had all fueled my quest for revenge, a relentless pursuit of justice that had consumed me, transformed me, turned me into a person I barely recognized. The phone's insistent ringing was a jarring interruption to my Saturday morning coffee and contemplation. I glanced at the unfamiliar number, a flicker of annoyance crossing my face. Probably another telemarketer trying to sell me an extended warranty on a life I no longer wanted. "Hello?" I answered, my voice laced with a healthy dose of "don't waste my time." "Mr. Carter?" a gruff voice inquired, its tone a curious blend of business and desperation. "This is Rick from Repo Roundup. We're trying to locate a Nancy McFucking cuntbag," I offered helpfully, a smirk playing on my lips. Yeah, that's the one." Rick chuckled, clearly a man who appreciated a good dose of blunt honesty. "Seems she's a bit behind on her car payments. We're authorized to repossess the vehicle, but she's gone off the grid. Any chance you might know her whereabouts? Bingo. The final nail in the coffin. The cherry on top of my revenge sundae. The grand finale to the symphony of destruction I'd been orchestrating for the past few months. Nancy, my darling, my ex-fiancée, the queen of bad decisions and financial irresponsibility, was about to lose her last remaining symbol of freedom, her chariot of self-delusion, the very vehicle she'd used to drive away from our shared life and into the arms of countless other men. "Well, Rick," I said, my voice a purr of satisfaction, "it just so happens that I do have a bit of information that might be helpful. Let's just say that Miss Nancy has decided to embrace a minimalist lifestyle. She's downsizing, decluttering, and finding herself in the, let's call it cozy confines of her brother's spare bedroom." I rattled off the address, the information a parting gift, a final fuck you to the woman who had tried to steal my future, my happiness, my very sanity. "You're a lifesaver, Mr. Carter," Rick exclaimed, his gratitude as genuine as his repossession skills. "We've been chasing this lead for weeks. You've just earned yourself $100 reward." "Keep the cash, Rick," I said, waving away the offer with a nonchalance that would make a millionaire blush. "Consider it a public service, a small contribution to the cause of karmic justice." The satisfaction was a warm glow in the pit of my stomach, a sense of closure that transcended the petty thrill of revenge. I had played the game, and I had won. Nancy McFucking-Cuntbag, the woman who had thought she could manipulate me, use me, discard me, was now facing the consequences of her actions, the wreckage of her life a testament to the power of truth, the resilience of the human spirit, and the undeniable satisfaction of a well-executed payback. As I hung up the phone, the dial tone a symphony of finality, a wave of peace washed over me, a serenity I hadn't felt in months. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, it was all fading, replaced by a quiet sense of triumph, a newfound appreciation for the simple joys of a life that was no longer defined by the drama, the chaos, the toxic presence of a woman who had never truly deserved my love. The game was over. The score was settled. And I, John, the man who had been broken, betrayed, and left for dead, was finally free to move on, to embrace the future that was waiting for me, the happiness that was rightfully mine.